The space station called Threshold 7 floated in the darkness between stars. It was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. Inside, representatives from 47 different alien species gathered in the largest room anyone had ever seen. The room was called the Arena, and today it would host something that had never happened before in galactic history. Tejo stood near the entrance, watching as aliens of every shape and size filed into their observation seats. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others crawled on 6 or 8 legs. A few floated in specialized tanks filled with liquid. Tejo was Earth's ambassador, and he had been preparing for this day for 6 months. He wore his formal diplomatic uniform, dark and simple, with Earth's symbol on his shoulder. Next to him, Subin checked her tablet for the 100th time. She was a scientist who studied alien life forms, and her job today was to explain Earth's presentation to the Council. She was nervous, though she tried not to show it. Her hands shook slightly as she scrolled through her notes. "They're all staring at us," Woojin said quietly. He was Earth's security officer, a tall man with careful eyes that never stopped watching the crowd. The Vral especially. "They haven't stopped laughing since we arrived." Tejo glanced toward the Vral section. The Vral were massive creatures, each one weighing at least 500 kilograms. They had thick gray skin like armor and tusks that curved from their lower jaws. Their ambassador was the largest of them all, and right now he was pointing at the human delegation and making sounds that his translator turned into mocking laughter. "Let them laugh," Tejo said calmly. "They'll understand soon enough." The Galactic Council had created the Apex Trials for one purpose: to establish which species had the most dangerous predators. In a galaxy full of different species, this information was important. It helped determine which planets were too dangerous to visit. It helped create safety protocols. It helped establish, though no one said it directly, a hierarchy of power. Each species would present their planet's most dangerous predator, the creature that sat at the top of their food chain, the animal that nothing else dared to hunt. A voice boomed through the arena, translated instantly into every language present. "The Apex Trials will now begin. First to present, the Vral Collective." The Vral Collective. The lights dimmed. A massive gate at the far end of the arena began to open. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed through the space. Then it appeared. The Ironhide Crusher stood 4 meters tall at the shoulder. Its body was covered in plates of natural armor that looked like they could stop a missile. Steam hissed from vents along its spine. When it opened its mouth and roared, everyone felt the sound in their bones. The creature's saliva dripped onto the arena floor and began to smoke. Acid, Tejo realized. The thing had acid for spit. The Vral ambassador stood, his chest swelling with pride. "Behold the apex predator of Vral Prime. Nothing on our world can stand against the Ironhide Crusher. Its armor can withstand impacts that would destroy your ships. Its acid can melt through steel in seconds. It has no natural enemies. It has never known fear." The crowd made impressed sounds. Some aliens in the audience moved back in their seats, away from the reinforced windows that separated them from the arena floor. The demonstrations continued for hours. Each one was more impressive than the last. The Keltharn brought something they called a phase stalker. The creature could disappear and reappear in different places, shifting through dimensions that Tejo didn't understand. It moved like smoke, like a nightmare, and its claws could cut through the arena's reinforced floor as if it were paper. The Mortian presented their Abyss Leviathan, which required a massive tank of water to be brought into the arena. The creature was so large that only part of it could fit in the tank. Its body was built to survive in ocean depths where the pressure would crush a submarine. When it moved, the water in its tank created waves that splashed against the observation windows. Species after species showed off their apex predators. There were pack hunters that moved with perfect coordination, taking down prey 3 times their size. There were ambush predators with venom so toxic that a single drop could kill 100 beings. There were aerial predators that could snatch prey from the ground while flying faster than sound. Each time, the presenting species would give statistics: how many kilograms their predator weighed, how fast it could run, how powerful its bite was, how many kills it averaged per hunt. The numbers were impressive, terrifying, even. Finally, after hours of presentations, only one species remained. Earth delegation, the announcer's voice called out. You may present. Taeho stood. He walked down to the arena floor, Subin and Woojin following behind him. The walk felt very long. Every alien eye in the massive room was watching them. He could hear whispers, could feel the curiosity and, from some species, the disdain. Earth was new to the galactic community. They had only been discovered 3 years ago. They were small, soft creatures with no natural weapons. What could they possibly present? Taeho reached the center of the arena floor. He nodded to Woojin, who spoke into his communicator. Send her in. The human delegation's gate began to open. The arena fell silent. Everyone leaned forward to see what terrifying creature Earth would present. What monster lurked on this new planet? What horror had humanity evolved alongside? A small figure appeared in the gateway. She was short, barely a meter tall. She had dark hair pulled into 2 small ponytails. She wore a bright yellow dress with flowers on it. In one hand, she clutched a stuffed rabbit that had seen better days. One of its ears was torn. Ji-woo was 4 years old. She stepped into the arena, and the massive space suddenly seemed even larger. Her small shoes made quiet sounds on the floor. She looked around at all the strange creatures and aliens watching her. Her eyes went wide. For a moment, nothing happened. The silence stretched on. Then, the Vral ambassador's laughter exploded through the arena. A child? The humans brought a child? Is this a joke? Other aliens began to laugh too. The sound echoed off the walls, growing louder and louder. Ji-woo's lower lip began to tremble. Subin stepped forward, her voice calm and professional, even though Taeho could see her hands were shaking. We brought exactly what was requested. Earth's apex predator in action. More laughter. The Keltharn ambassador's crystalline features seemed to shimmer with amusement. This is an insult to the trials. Humans, explain yourselves or be removed from these proceedings. Ji-woo looked back toward the gate, searching for something familiar. But the gate had closed behind her. She was alone in the huge space, surrounded by strange sounds and stranger creatures. She couldn't see her parents in the observation deck high above. She did what any 4-year-old would do when tired, scared, and overwhelmed. Ji-woo sat down hard on the arena floor, and she began to scream. The scream that came from Ji-woo was not the roar of a predator. It was not the hiss of something venomous or the growl of something with fangs. It was the high-pitched wail of a small child who was scared and wanted her parents. But the arena's sound system was designed to amplify the roars and howls of apex predators, so everyone could hear them clearly. When Ji-woo screamed, that same system grabbed her voice and made it fill every corner of the massive space. The sound bounced off the walls, echoed through the chambers, and pierced through every translator and audio receptor. Several aliens immediately covered their hearing organs. The Keltharn ambassador's crystals actually vibrated with the sound frequency. One of the Mortian in the water tank section quickly retreated deeper into their fluid, but Ji-woo wasn't done. Now that she had started crying, everything that had been building up inside her came pouring out. She was tired from the long trip to the station. She missed her room and her toys. She didn't like all these strange creatures staring at her. And most of all, she wanted her daddy. She kicked her legs against the floor. She pounded her small fists. She shrieked, "No," over and over again, the universal word that every human child learns to say with maximum volume and intensity. Tears ran down her face. Her stuffed rabbit fell from her hand and lay forgotten on the arena floor. This was a tantrum in full force, the kind that any parent in the galaxy could recognize. Except no other species in the galaxy had quite this experience with their young. The laughter in the arena had stopped. Now, there was just uncomfortable silence, broken only by Ji-woo's continued wailing. Woojin was the first to notice. His security training made him always aware of his surroundings. "Sir," he said quietly to Taeho, "look at the predators." Taeho looked. The Ironhide Crusher, the massive armored beast that had made the entire arena shake with its roar just an hour ago, was moving backward. Its huge feet were scraping against the floor as it tried to put distance between itself and the screaming child. The creature's small eyes were darting around, searching for an escape route that didn't exist. The phase stalker was flickering. It kept shifting in and out of dimensions, appearing and disappearing rapidly. This wasn't the controlled hunting technique it had demonstrated earlier. This was panic. The creature couldn't decide whether to stay in this dimension or flee to another one. In its tank, the Abyss Leviathan had retreated to the far corner, as far from Jiwoo as the space would allow. This was a creature that lived in ocean depths where nothing could reach it, where it had no natural enemies, yet it was hiding from a 4-year-old girl. Subin pulled out her tablet and began taking readings. A small smile appeared on her face as she watched the data scroll across her screen. "Fascinating," she murmured. "Every single predator in the arena is showing signs of extreme stress." The Vral ambassador stood up, his earlier amusement completely gone. "What is the meaning of this? Your offspring is disturbing the other presentations. Remove it immediately." Taeho held up his hand. "The demonstration is not complete. Please observe." Jiwoo screamed again. And this time, there was a new sound mixed in with her crying. She was starting to make herself hoarse, but she didn't care. She wanted her parents, and she wanted them now. The Ironhide Crusher made a sound no one had heard from it before. It was a whimper. A creature weighing several tons, covered in armor that could stop explosives, was whimpering because a child was crying. "What's happening?" one of the other ambassadors asked. "Why are they reacting this way?" Subin stepped forward. She projected a hologram from her tablet that everyone in the arena could see. It showed a complex chart with lots of numbers and graphs. "What you're witnessing is something unique to Earth. Let me explain." She changed the hologram to show images of different creatures from Earth. "On my planet, humans were not always apex predators. In fact, for most of our history, we were prey. We had no armor like the Ironhide Crusher. We had no venom. We couldn't phase through dimensions. We were slow compared to many animals. We were weak compared to many animals. By all logical measures, we should have gone extinct." The hologram changed to show early humans running across an ancient landscape. "But we had one advantage. We could run for a very, very long time. Other predators would chase prey until the prey was out of breath. Then they would give up. Humans never gave up. We would follow our prey for days. Literally days. We would track them across entire continents. We would chase them until they collapsed from exhaustion, and then we would finish the hunt. This is basic persistence hunting," the Keltharn ambassador said dismissively. "Several species use this technique. It hardly makes you special." "You're right," Subin agreed. "That alone wouldn't make us special. But we did this while carrying our young." She changed the hologram again. Now it showed a human baby. A human child cannot walk for an entire year after birth, cannot feed itself for years, cannot defend itself for years, cannot survive alone for even a few days. Our young are born completely helpless. This is almost unique in nature. Woojin continued the explanation. "This created a problem. How do helpless young survive? They need protection every moment of every day. So humans evolved a response. When a human child cries, adult humans feel a biological need to respond. It's not a choice. It's programming. It's something built into our bodies and brains by millions of years of evolution." The hologram now showed brain scans of adult humans hearing a baby cry. Certain areas lit up bright red. "These are the same brain areas that activate during life-threatening danger," Subin explained. "When an adult human hears a child in distress, their body immediately enters a state of emergency. Pain doesn't matter anymore. Logic doesn't matter. Personal safety doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is getting to that child and stopping the crying." Jiwoo let out another wail, and everyone in the arena could see the effect. Every human present was tense. leaning forward, hands gripping their armrests. Their faces all showed the same expression, an intense need to respond to that cry. In the observation deck high above, Ji-woo's father, Hyun-sik, was being held back by two security officers. He wasn't being violent. He wasn't trying to hurt anyone. He was simply trying with every fiber of his being to get to his daughter. The security officers were struggling to hold him, even though he wasn't fighting them directly. He was just pulling toward his child with a strength that seemed impossible for his size. That man, Taeho said, pointing up at Hyun-sik, is a normal human. Not a soldier. Not an athlete. He repairs shuttlecraft for a living. He sits at a desk most days. By human standards, he is completely average. Watch what happens to him when his child cries. The cameras focused on Hyun-sik. His face was red. Sweat poured down his forehead. The muscles in his arms and legs were trembling from strain, but he never stopped pulling toward the arena floor, toward his daughter. Your predators sense this, Woo Jin said, gesturing to the cowering creatures around them. They have hunted for millions of years. They know how to read prey. They know how to read threats, and right now, every predator in this arena is hearing something their instincts tell them is dangerous. Subin nodded. They're not hearing a child cry. They're hearing a distress call that says, something is coming, something that will not stop, something that cannot be reasoned with or scared away, something that will tear through any obstacle to reach this sound. The Ironhide Crusher tried to back up even further and bumped into the arena wall. It was cornered, trapped with the source of that terrible crying, and it didn't know what to do. A creature that had never known fear was afraid. Ji-woo's tantrum was starting to wind down. She was getting tired. Her screams were becoming quieter sobs, but the damage was done. Every species in the arena had seen what happened. They had seen their apex predators, their most dangerous creatures, react with fear to nothing more than a crying child. Taeho looked up at the council representatives. You wanted to see our apex predator. You're looking at it. That cry is the sound that made humans evolve into what we are. Because the response to that cry made us capable of anything. The council chamber fell into an uncomfortable silence. Ji-woo was still crying softly on the arena floor, her small body shaking with hiccups and sobs. Around her, the galaxy's most dangerous predators kept their distance, still showing signs of unease. The Keltharn ambassador was the first to speak. Her crystalline body reflected the arena lights as she stood. This is an interesting theory, Ambassador Taeho. But theory is not demonstration. You claim that humans are dangerous because of their response to offspring distress. You've shown us that your young can make noise. You've shown us that other predators react to this noise. But you have not shown us why we should consider humans themselves to be apex predators. There was agreement from several other delegates. The Vral ambassador had recovered from his shock and was nodding. Yes. The child cries. So what? Many species have young that make noise. This proves nothing about human capability. Taeho had expected this. He exchanged a glance with Subin, who was still reading data from her tablet. She gave him a small nod. You want a demonstration, Taeho said calmly. Very well. Subin, please show them the comparison data. Subin's fingers moved across her tablet. A new hologram appeared in the center of the arena, visible to all. It showed side-by-side images of different species young compared to human young. A Vral juvenile can walk within hours of birth, Subin explained. It can eat solid food within days. It reaches full independence within 1 standard year. The Keltharn young are born with basic survival instincts already programmed. They require minimal parental care. The Mortian young can survive alone after just 6 months. The hologram changed to show a human baby. A human infant cannot hold up its own head for months, cannot walk for a year, cannot survive without constant care for at least 6 years, though full independence takes much longer. During human evolution, this created a problem that no other species here has faced at the same scale. Woo Jin stepped forward. Imagine you're being chased by a predator. You're carrying a helpless infant that cannot run, cannot hide, cannot defend itself. The predator is faster than you, stronger than you, better armed than you. What do you do? He paused, letting the question hang in the air. You don't give up. You can't give up. Because if you do, your genetic line ends. Your offspring dies. Everything your species worked for dies, so humans evolved to do something that seems impossible. When protecting their young, humans stop feeling pain, they stop feeling fear. They become capable of things that should be physically impossible. Subin pulled up more data. Let me show you recorded examples from Earth history. These are not stories. These are documented events, with multiple witnesses. The hologram showed a scene. A vehicle, what humans called a car, had crashed and was on fire. In this incident, a human female lifted a car weighing 1,000 kilograms. She lifted it high enough to pull her trapped child out from underneath. Later, when tested, she could not lift even 200 kilograms. Her normal strength was not sufficient. But in the moment, protecting her child, her body somehow found the ability. Another scene appeared. Here, a human male was attacked by a predator from Earth called a mountain lion. These animals weigh up to 90 kilograms and have claws and teeth designed for killing. The man was severely injured. He had deep wounds across his back and shoulders. But his daughter was nearby. He fought the mountain lion with his bare hands and killed it. He survived only because other humans arrived and gave him medical care. When questioned later, he said he didn't remember feeling any pain during the fight. Image after image flashed across the hologram. A woman running into a building that was actively burning, flames everywhere, to save children inside. A man breaking through a frozen lake with his bare hands to reach his son who had fallen through the ice. A parent taking a bullet meant for their child, and continuing to fight despite a wound that should have killed them instantly. These are not soldiers, Subin said firmly. These are not trained warriors. These are ordinary humans. Shop workers. Teachers. Office workers. But when their children were threatened, they became something else. Something dangerous. The Vral ambassador made a dismissive sound. Anecdotes. Emotional responses. This is not the same as true predator ability. Your Ironhide Crusher could kill any of these humans easily. Could it? Tejo asked quietly. Let's test that theory. Before anyone could object, Tejo nodded toward the observation deck. He spoke into his communicator. Release him. The two security officers holding Hyun-sik let go and stepped back. What happened next would be analyzed and studied for years to come. Hyun-sik didn't hesitate. He didn't climb down the stairs that led from the observation deck to the arena floor. He didn't look for a safe path. He simply vaulted over the railing. The observation deck was 6 meters above the arena floor. Hyun-sik fell through the air and landed hard on the reinforced floor. The impact was audible throughout the entire chamber. Subin's medical scanner immediately began showing alerts. Fractured left ankle, she reported, her voice calm and clinical. Stress fractures in both leg bones. Torn ligaments in his left shoulder from the impact. His pain receptors are firing constantly. He should be unable to walk. Hyun-sik stood up and started running. It wasn't a fast run by human athletic standards. His left leg was clearly injured, and he was limping. But he didn't slow down. He didn't stop. He ran directly toward his daughter, and nothing was going to stop him. The phase stalker was in his path. This creature had demonstrated earlier that it could shift through dimensions, appearing and disappearing at will. It was one of the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. When it saw Hyun-sik approaching, it materialized fully, trying to block his path. Hyun-sik didn't slow down. He didn't try to go around it. He simply shoved the creature aside. The phase stalker weighed nearly 300 kilograms. It was pure muscle, and designed for killing. But when Hyun-sik's hand made contact with it, the creature moved. It slid across the arena floor as if it weighed nothing. The strangest part was that the phase stalker didn't fight back. This was a predator that could kill with a single strike. But it didn't attack. It backed away, its instincts screaming at it that this small, injured being was somehow dangerous. Hyun-sik kept moving. His ankle was definitely broken now. Each step should have been agony. His face showed strain, showed effort, but not pain. Pain existed somewhere far away, irrelevant to what he needed to do. The Ironhide Crusher was near Ji-woo. It had been trying to move away from her, crying, but now Hyun-sik was coming from another direction. The massive creature, which had never retreated from anything in its life, pressed itself against the arena wall. It made that whimpering sound again as Hyun-sik passed within meters of it. Then Hyun-sik reached his daughter. He knelt down, scooped Ji-woo up into his arms, and the crying stopped. Just like that, instantly, Ji-woo buried her face in her father's shoulder, her small hands gripping his shirt. She was still hiccuping from crying so hard, but the screaming was done. Hyun-sik was murmuring soft words to her, bouncing gently, rubbing her back. His face had transformed from that mask of intensity to something gentle and loving. Around them, the apex predators of the galaxy kept their distance. Woojin's voice filled the arena again. Hyun-sik's medical readings right now show injuries that should have him unconscious from pain. His ankle is broken. He has multiple torn ligaments. His cortisol and adrenaline levels are high enough that his heart should have stopped. But look at him. He's standing. He's holding his daughter. He's completely ignoring everything his body is telling him because his daughter is safe now. Nothing else matters. Subin added more data to the hologram. This is the human response in action. This is what made us apex predators on a planet full of creatures stronger, faster, and better armed than we were. We don't have armor or venom or claws. What we have is this. The biological programming that makes us absolutely unstoppable. When our young are threatened, Taeho looked directly at the Vral ambassador. You asked what would happen if a human fought your Ironhide Crusher. The answer is, if that human's child was in danger, they would fight until either the threat was dead or they were. Pain wouldn't stop them. Injury wouldn't stop them. The physical limitations of their body wouldn't stop them. He gestured to Hyun-sik, who was now sitting on the arena floor with Ji-woo in his lap, still comforting her. That man is ordinary by human standards, not special, not trained for combat, just a father, and you've all seen what a father can do. Now imagine 10,000 humans like him, all hearing a child scream. Imagine 100,000. Imagine 1,000,000. The arena was completely silent now. Even the translators seemed to have stopped making noise. Every species present was looking at Hyun-sik, at the broken ankle he was ignoring, at the gentle way he held his daughter despite his injuries. We are persistence predators, Taeho said quietly. We never stop. We never give up. And when our young are involved, we become something that your apex predator's instincts recognize as a threat. Because we are. The medical team had arrived on the arena floor. 2 medics approached Hyun-sik carefully, as if afraid to disturb him. He looked up at them, his arms still wrapped protectively around Ji-woo, and they stopped. Sir, one of the medics said gently, we need to treat your injuries. Your ankle needs immediate attention. Hyun-sik looked down at his daughter. She had finally stopped hiccuping and was nearly asleep against his shoulder, exhausted from her tantrum. He looked back at the medics and nodded slowly. Can you do it without moving her? She just fell asleep. The medics exchanged glances. One of them knelt down and began scanning Hyun-sik's injuries while Ji-woo remained in his arms. The man didn't wince, didn't make any sound of pain, even though the scanner had to manipulate his broken ankle to get proper readings. In the observation seats, the alien delegates were having quiet, intense conversations. Some were re-watching recordings of what had just happened on their personal devices. Others were consulting with their own medical experts, trying to understand how a being could function with such severe injuries. Subin took advantage of the moment to share more information. Her hologram changed to show human physiology in detail. I want you to understand something important. What you just witnessed wasn't magic. It wasn't supernatural ability. It's simple biology, but biology that evolved under very specific circumstances. The hologram showed a human brain with certain areas highlighted. When a human perceives their child to be in danger, their body releases a combination of chemicals, adrenaline, which you're probably familiar with, but also others, endorphins, which block pain signals, norepinephrine, which increases focus and reduces the perception of danger to oneself, cortisol, which provides immediate energy regardless of physical condition. A Keltharn scientist in the observation deck called out a question. Many species have similar stress responses. This is not unique. You're correct, Subin agreed. What makes humans different is the intensity and the trigger. For most species, these chemicals release when the individual is in danger. For humans, they release at maximum levels when offspring are in danger. The parent's own safety becomes completely secondary. She changed the hologram to show comparative data. A Vral in danger will experience a stress response that enhances their already impressive physical abilities by approximately 30%. A Keltharn might see a 40% increase. But a human protecting their child can access physical capabilities 200, 300, sometimes 400% beyond their normal limits. The price is severe damage to their own body, but in the moment, that doesn't matter. Wu Jin added context. Human history is full of these moments. We have stories going back thousands of years of parents doing impossible things. Before we had written language, we had cave paintings showing parents defending children against predators much larger than themselves. It's built into our culture, our stories, our identity as a species. The hologram now showed historical images from Earth. Ancient art depicting parents standing between their children and danger. Medieval paintings of parents fighting off wolves. Modern photographs of rescue workers pulling children from disaster zones. War photos of civilians protecting their young in conflict zones. Every human civilization, no matter where they developed on our planet, no matter what language they spoke, has stories about parents who became unstoppable when their children were threatened. Subin explained. This isn't cultural. It's biological. It's universal to our species. Taeho had been watching the council members carefully. He could see that some were beginning to understand. Others were still skeptical. He needed to make them see the full picture. Let me tell you about something that happened on Earth, Taeho said. About 200 years ago, before we had our current technology, a passenger ship carrying 300 people sank in the ocean. Among the passengers were 50 children. The water was freezing. People could only survive in it for maybe 20 minutes before their bodies shut down from the cold. He paused, making sure everyone was listening. Every single adult on that ship, given the choice of getting into a limited number of lifeboats, gave their spot to a child. Parents gave their spots to their own children, obviously, but so did adults without children. Old people, young people, men, women, everyone. They all chose to stay in the freezing water so children could live. 48 of those 50 children survived. 280 adults died. The arena was silent. This wasn't a special group of humans, Taeho continued. These were ordinary people. Farmers, merchants, travelers. But when faced with the choice between their own survival and children surviving, there was no choice at all. The biological programming to protect offspring, even offspring that weren't their own, overrode their survival instinct completely. The Vral ambassador shifted uncomfortably. This is admirable, in a way. But it also seems like a weakness. You sacrifice yourselves readily. This makes you easier to defeat, not harder. Does it? Taeho asked. Ask yourself this. What's more dangerous? An enemy that fights to survive, or an enemy that fights with absolutely nothing to lose? He let that question hang in the air for a moment before continuing. A soldier fighting for their own life will retreat when injured. They'll surrender when the situation is hopeless. They'll make strategic decisions based on self-preservation. But a human protecting children doesn't retreat, doesn't surrender, doesn't make strategic decisions. They just keep coming. And that's terrifying. Wu Jin brought up more data. Let me show you a military study from Earth. Two armies of equal size and equipment fought each other. One army was defending a military installation. The other army was defending a city full of civilians, including many children. The second army won, despite taking casualties that should have made them break formation and retreat. They didn't retreat. They couldn't. Their programming wouldn't let them. Subin pulled up historical records. Earth has had many wars throughout our history. We're not proud of this fact, but it's true. And in every war, the most effective soldiers were always the ones protecting their homeland where their families lived. Not because they were better trained, not because they had better weapons, but because they were fighting with that same programming active. Retreat meant children died, so they didn't retreat. Down on the arena floor, the medics had finished their initial treatment. They had stabilized Hyun-sik's ankle and given him medication for the pain, though he had refused anything that would make him drowsy. Ji-woo was still sleeping peacefully in his arms. He stood up slowly, testing his weight on the injured leg, and began walking toward the exit. Every predator in the arena tracked his movement with wary eyes. None of them approached. None of them made aggressive displays. They simply watched this small, injured being carry his offspring away. And they let him go unchallenged. "Do you understand now?" Taeho asked the council. "Your predators have evolved on worlds where they were the top of the food chain. They've never encountered something that won't stop coming no matter what. They've never faced something that gets more dangerous when injured, not less. They've never met something that will sacrifice itself without hesitation if it means completing its goal." He gestured to the departing Hyun-sik. "That's just one human, one father. And you've all seen what he did on a broken ankle, with torn ligaments, with injuries that should have left him unconscious. Now imagine that same human realizes his child is still in danger after all that. Imagine he has to get up and do it again, and again, and again, because he will. He'll keep going until his body physically cannot function anymore. And even then, he'll try." The Keltharn ambassador's crystalline features had gone very still. "You're saying that injuring a human protecting offspring doesn't stop them. It just delays them." "That's exactly what I'm saying," Taeho confirmed. "Pain doesn't work as a deterrent because they don't feel it properly. Injury doesn't work because their body will continue functioning past normal limits. Fear doesn't work because they're literally incapable of processing their own danger when their children are at risk. So tell me, Ambassador, how do you stop something like that?" Nobody had an answer. Subin closed her presentation. "This is why humans became apex predators on Earth, despite having no natural weapons. This is why creatures much stronger and faster than us went extinct while we survived. Because when pushed, when our young were threatened, we became something that nothing else on our planet could handle. We became unstoppable." Taeho looked around the arena one last time. "Every species here brought their apex predator today. We brought ours too. You just didn't recognize it because you were looking for something that roars and has claws. Our apex predator is the sound of a child crying and the response it creates. Everything else we've built as a species, all our technology, all our weapons, all our achievements, they all exist downstream from that one simple biological program. Protect the children, no matter what." 3 hours after the demonstration, the Galactic Council chamber was still filled with heated debate. The huge circular room had seating for all 47 species, arranged in tiers so everyone could see everyone else. Right now, it seemed like everyone was talking at once. Taeho sat in the Earth delegation section with Subin and Woojin. They waited patiently while the other species argued among themselves. Some were dismissing what they had seen as a fluke, an anomaly. Others were taking it very seriously. The Vral ambassador was pacing in his section, his heavy footsteps echoing. "I still maintain this proves nothing. So humans are protective of their young. Many species are. This doesn't make them dangerous to the galactic community." A Keltharn scientist stood up to respond. "But did you watch the footage carefully?" The human male moved a phase stalker. "A phase stalker? These creatures are designed for hunting, for killing," and this injured human simply pushed it aside. The creature didn't even fight back. Its instincts told it to avoid confrontation. "Because it was confused," the Vral ambassador argued. "Not because it was afraid." "Then explain the Ironhide Crusher," another voice called out. This was from the Mortian section, their words translated from the bubbling sounds they made underwater. "Your species' apex predator. It has never shown fear in its entire evolutionary history. Yet we all watched it press itself against a wall to avoid a human. The Vral ambassador had no good answer for that. In another section, a group of delegates was reviewing the medical data that Subin had provided. They were particularly focused on Hyun-sik's scans, trying to understand how he had functioned with such severe injuries. The pain receptor data doesn't make sense, one of them was saying. These readings show constant pain signals. Intense pain. The kind that should shut down motor function. Yet he ran. He lifted his child, he walked away under his own power. The human brain is simply filtering it out, another responded. Look at the neural patterns. The pain signals are reaching his brain, but they're not being processed as actionable information. His brain is treating them like background noise. That's not filtering. That's ignoring critical survival information. That should be impossible. Yet we all watched it happen. Nari, Earth's chief diplomat, had been sitting quietly until now. She was older than Taeho, with gray hair and a calm presence that made people listen when she spoke. Now she stood up, and gradually the chamber fell silent. Honored council members, she began, I understand your confusion and your concern. What you witnessed today challenged your understanding of how species survive and evolve. That's understandable. But we need to move past debate and discuss the practical implications. She activated a holographic display that showed a star map. Earth is new to the galactic community. We've been part of your organization for only 3 years. In that time, we've been peaceful. We've followed protocols. We've tried to be good neighbors. But after today, some of you are afraid of us. And that fear could lead to actions that would be unfortunate. Are you threatening us? Someone asked. No, Nari said firmly. I'm trying to prevent threats. Because here's what you need to understand. Everything you saw today, all that programming to protect children, it doesn't just apply to humans protecting human children. She let that sink in for a moment before continuing. On Earth, we have countless stories of humans risking their lives to save children of other species. People running into burning buildings to save pet animals. Civilians evacuating cities carrying not just their own children but orphaned children they've never met. Soldiers in war zones protecting enemy children. It's not rational. It's not strategic. It's just what we do. Subin pulled up more data to support this. Studies show that humans have difficulty processing the concept of a child in danger, regardless of what species that child belongs to. Our brain's response is automatic. A young being in distress equals respond immediately. Woojin added, this has implications for how humans will interact with the galaxy. If we encounter young of other species in danger, we will respond. We won't be able to help ourselves. It's not a choice. The Martian representative spoke up. This could actually be advantageous. A species programmed to protect young could be valuable for child welfare initiatives across the galaxy. Perhaps, Nari agreed. But it also means you need to understand what happens if human children, or any children humans consider under their protection, are threatened, not just by predators, by anyone. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. We're not warlike by nature, Nari continued. We prefer peace, diplomacy, cooperation. But we are capable of war. Very capable. And human soldiers protecting something they care about are, well, you've seen what one untrained civilian can do on a broken ankle. Imagine trained soldiers, with military equipment, operating under that same programming. She pulled up historical records from Earth. Our planet has had many conflicts, the most brutal, the most total, the ones with the highest casualties, and the least willingness to negotiate, were always the ones where children were threatened. Cities have burned, entire armies have been destroyed. Populations have fought to the last person rather than surrender when their children were at risk. Taeho stood to join her. This is why we chose to demonstrate this aspect of humanity at the Apex trials. Not to intimidate you, not to claim superiority, but to make sure you understand who we are before there's a misunderstanding that could lead to tragedy. He looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many delegates as possible. We want to be part of this galactic community. We want to contribute. We want peace, But we need you to understand our nature. We need you to know that threatening human children, or any children under human protection, would be the single worst mistake anyone could make. Is that a threat? The Vral ambassador demanded. It's a warning, Tejo replied calmly. The same way you'd warn someone not to corner a dangerous animal. We're not asking for special treatment. We're not demanding you change your ways. We're simply explaining our biology so you can make informed decisions. Nari pulled up one final piece of data. Let me show you a proposal. Earth suggests adding a new protocol to the Galactic Community Charter, a protection clause that applies to all juvenile members of all species. Enhanced penalties for anyone who harms or threatens young of any species. Not just human young. All young. She looked around the chamber. We believe this would benefit everyone. Children are the future of any species. They deserve protection, and humans are volunteering to help provide that protection, if you'll accept it. We're offering to be the ones who respond when children are in danger, because we're built for it. Because we can't help but respond. There was murmuring throughout the chamber. Some delegates were nodding. Others looked uncertain. The Keltharn ambassador stood. I have a question. If we accept this proposal, if we allow humans to take on this protective role, what happens if there's a conflict? What if protecting one species' children puts you in conflict with another species' adults? Nari met her gaze steadily. Then we would do everything possible to resolve the situation peacefully. Negotiate, mediate, find solutions. But if peaceful resolution fails, and children are actively in danger, then humans will side with the children. Every time. Without exception. Even against allies? The Keltharn ambassador pressed. Even against allies, Nari confirmed. This is not negotiable. This is not something we can turn off. Any species entering into an alliance with Earth needs to understand this absolute. We will not stand by while children are harmed. We cannot. Our biology won't let us. The silence in the chamber was heavy. Finally, the Mortian representative spoke. I believe I speak for many when I say this is both reassuring and concerning. Reassuring because it means humans are predictable in this regard. We know where you stand. But concerning because it means you're inflexible on this point. That's correct, Tejo agreed. We're inflexible. We can't be flexible. Our programming won't allow it. But at least you know. At least there won't be surprises. The voting took another 2 hours. In the end, the Council made several decisions. First, Earth's threat assessment was officially recalibrated, not based on their military strength, which was modest by galactic standards, not based on their technology, which was still developing, but based on a single line in the psychological profile. Humans demonstrate extreme protective response to juvenile distress, regardless of species. Recommend avoiding situations that could trigger this response. Second, the protection clause that Nari had proposed was adopted with some modifications. All member species agreed to enhanced penalties for harming juveniles. Earth was given a formal role in child protection initiatives across the galaxy. Third, and perhaps most importantly, every species agreed to include information about human protective programming in their first contact protocols. Any species encountering humans for the first time would be warned. Do not threaten their young. Do not threaten any young in their presence. The consequences would be severe. As the human delegation prepared to leave Threshold 7, Tejo stood at an observation window looking out at the stars. Su Bin joined him. Do you think they really understand? She asked. Tejo considered the question. Some do. Some will. And some will have to learn the hard way. Unfortunately. I hope not, Su Bin said quietly. So do I. Tejo agreed. But at least we warned them. We were honest about who and what we are. That's the best we can do. 6 months later, his words would prove prophetic. A small faction of raiders, operating outside council authority, attempted to take hostages from a mixed-species colony. Among the hostages were children from 3 different species, including 2 human children. The raiders believed the colony would be an easy target. They believed the presence of children would make everyone cooperative. They were wrong. 3 human warships arrived within 72 hours. They were named Persistence, Vigilance, and Lullaby. The human commander sent no demands, offered no negotiations. The ships simply took up positions around the raider base and waited. When galactic peacekeepers arrived 4 hours later, they found all the hostages safe, frightened but unharmed. The raiders were gone. The human ships were already leaving. The only message left behind was an audio file, a child crying, then falling silent, and a simple translation. "We told you." News of the incident spread through the galaxy faster than light travel. Every species, every civilization, every government discussed what it meant. Some called humans dangerous, some called them noble, some called them terrifying. But everyone agreed on one thing. The warnings had been accurate. When it came to protecting children, humans were exactly what they had demonstrated at the Apex trials. They were unstoppable. The Apex trials were never held again. There was no need. Everyone understood now. Every species had brought their apex predator that day, creatures of claw and fang and venom. But Earth had brought something more fundamental. Something that couldn't be measured in size or strength or speed. Earth had brought the sound of a child in distress, and the response that sound created. And that, it turned out, was the most dangerous thing in the galaxy.